These actions involve the habu snakes, which are very venomous. Their bites cause severe pain and can lead to death. They are abundant in certain areas of Japan. In 1980, around 400 people were bitten, and at that time, there was no medicine to treat the victims from the venom. When they discovered the medicine, another problem arose. And how to get the medicine to them? The medicine came in a simple form, which meant that it could not be stored in rural areas that lacked electricity, and these rural areas were where the bites most often occurred. The problem is that if he wanted to get electricity lines to these areas, it would take a long time and require a high cost. Developing a new drug has the same problem, in addition to the fact that its success is not guaranteed. After much research, Japan eventually came up with a radical solution to this problem, which is to bring an animal that eats snakes and is immune to their venom. This idea seemed very appropriate at the time, but as usually happens, things did not go as planned. Join us as we learn in this video how Japan exterminated thousands of mongooses on one of its islands. Let's get started. In 1979, Japan imported approximately 30 young mongooses and placed them on an island off Oshima to eradicate the habu and vipers, because these snakes were widespread in the island and were endangering the lives of the villagers. The natural habitat of the mongoose is Asian countries such as India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, and Pakistan. After 14 years, and exactly in 1993, the impact of the ferret became clear, and the number of ferrets on the island weakened dramatically, to the point that in 2000, their number became about 10,000. But the more important question was, did the number of snakes decrease? On one hand, the answer was yes, their numbers dropped significantly, but the mongoose was not the reason at all. It turned out that the mongoose showed no interest in its venomous prey. So, even though it seemed like the ideal solution at first, the mongoose was not the best option in practice. There are several reasons for this. The mongoose is fast and agile, which makes it a strong opponent for snakes, such as it is a relative of the haptosnake. The mongoose has special receptors for choline that make it less sensitive to cobra venom, which enables it to survive bites that would be fatal to other animals. These animals have evolved in a way that makes them able to eliminate snakes. They use their quick reflexes and sharp fangs to deliver deadly bites. However, there is a problem. The mongoose is active during the day, while the hapu is active at night, which means that the animals rarely come into contact with each other. The second reason for the mongoose's ineffectiveness, even if their timings coincided, is that hunting prey is difficult and complex and requires a lot of effort, so why would the mongoose exert this effort when it has easier prey such as mice and rabbits? In the end, it turned out that the mongoose was completely useless in the task tool for which it was brought. However, it was successful. In 2000, Japan began reducing them, and since then, 32,000 were captured. The last hunt was April 2018, with no new cases since. Japan announced success in eradicating them on Amami Oshima, 32,000 mongooses. The last recorded hunting of a mongoose was in April 2018, and since then, no new cases have been reported. The Japanese Ministry of the Environment announced its complete success in eradicating the non-native mongoose on Amami Oshima Island. But how did Japan manage to deal with this huge number of Austrian animals? The journey to eradicate them was full of challenges. At first, residents installed elevators along the roads, but this method did not achieve any significant results. Since the traps eventually attracted only a few ferrets, they resorted to using special traps, poisoned food, and attractants that release scents to attract the animals, and even brought in trained dogs and set them free to search for the ferrets. Modern traps have proven more effective as they are specially designed to fit the shape and size of the ferret so that these traps do not catch other animals. Since 2005, civilians have participated in ferret hunting teams. Local residents and others scoured the forests and mountains to catch them, spending a lot of money, effort, and work hours to completely eradicate them. Some might wonder, why all this? Why didn't they just leave the ferret alone? The answer is that it was necessary to get rid of it, because instead of controlling the snake population as expected, the ferret began to hunt the native species on the island, including rabbits and other local animals, and about 15 native species have stumbled due to the ferret. Even the agricultural sector wasn't spared from its impact, as the ferret preyed on domestic birds and ate fruits from the fields, spreading diseases among the animals it didn't consume. In just 20 years, the habitat of some small animals shrank by 40%, and it became clear that the decision to introduce the ferret to the small Japanese islands was, in fact, a highly destructive one. Islands are always unique ecosystems with native species that are not used to living with predators, and therefore do not know how to protect themselves from them. In fact, the arrival of a new predator can cause damage anywhere on the planet. Austria eats and can easily hunt it, making its presence extremely harmful. It took about 25 years to get rid of it, and although eliminating a large number of mongooses may seem very harsh, Japan did the right thing from a native species protection perspective. Because when invasive species appear in a new area, you can't let them spread and reproduce individually. If you miss the right moment at the beginning, it will be much more difficult to get rid of them later. And perhaps impossible in some cases. By 2020, the number of stings had dropped to only about 60 cases per year, but as I mentioned earlier, the Austrian had no role in this decline. People started taking different measures themselves, and medicine became widely available. What helped prevent fatal cases is that no death due to pressure from the habu snake has been recorded since 1992 to this day. Japan is not the first country to use one type of animal to eliminate another, but there are many countries. Humans have used this approach for a long time, and it has often been very successful. The most famous example is farmers using predatory insects to protect fruit trees and gardens. From the 19th century to the mid-20th century, sugarcane, the most valuable commodity in Hawaii, and one of the main problems faced by sugarcane farms was the rats. They were destroying the sugarcane crops due to their sweet taste. The rats destroyed a large amount of the sugarcane harvest, and the farmers were unable to combat them effectively. In the 1880s, 72 mongooses were brought from Jamaica to the Big Island in Hawaii. They were raised there, and then their offspring were sent to farms on other islands. An unexpected surprise was soon revealed. Mice are nocturnal animals, meaning they are only active at night, while mongooses are diurnal animals, meaning they are only active during the day. Here the mongoose began to destroy the local species of animals and plants, and many species of birds and turtles became endangered as their eggs were completely opposed to these hungry predators. As the situation became increasingly precarious, special barriers were installed to prevent the mongoose from entering nature reserves and protected areas. But it seems that Hawaii, on the other hand, has missed the opportunity to act in time. It is now too late to control the ferret, and despite all the efforts of officials, controlling its numbers today is so difficult that it is almost impossible. The small Indian mongoose has been responsible for the extinction of at least 8 native bird species in Hawaii, birds that were, unfortunately, listed as endangered by the federal government in the year 1872. In particular, a British colonist introduced the mongoose to his sugarcane plantations in Jamaica, where the mongoose was rampant. It was thought that the mongoose would eat rats, but it did not. The mongoose has spread throughout Jamaica and has led to a significant decline in the numbers of local birds and reptiles. In a recent study of Egyptian tombs dating back 4,000 years, a drawing was discovered showing a person leading a mongoose-like animal, tied to a rope. As a pet, some scientists suggest that the mongoose depicted in the tomb may have been used to scare birds, making hunting easier. Here we reach the end of the video. If you enjoyed the topic, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video, God willing.